interestingly, I don't know whether it's related or not, but in January, the molybdenum price went up 94% or something.
Yeah.
I mean, is there a relationship to that? Because that's very odd, right? Because that's a very
that's more, moly's really more of a steel hardening commodity, but you're seeing some extreme supply demand problems in, across all the metals. We've seen copper had a pretty big run late last year. We've seen big spikes in palladium, which has now come back. So I think you're going to see a lot more of this. Nickel, despite a 20% increase in supply projected for this year, is sitting up around 28,000 US a tonne. So you're going to see a lot of volatility moving forward, I think.
In terms of sensitivity to mine closure and supply shortage, I mean, to me, that was a big reaction to, like for moly, right?
Yeah.
We're talking about this Peruvian mine closure
Yeah.
now, but do you see that going across the board?
Well, I can see, I mean, you mentioned Peru, where there's been a lot of, landholder activity. You've seen a lot of sort of left-wing policies trying to be pushed forward in Chile. You're now seeing first world knockbacks on, some important copper and zinc projects. I mean, there were two big ones, one in Alaska and one in Minnesota a few weeks ago that the US government had knocked on the head. So, while we perceive the developing world as high risk, I think the first world's, not far behind. So I've never seen supply as tight as it is now across, most of the metals.
Yeah, it's because I think that's a very important point to highlight, is because that supply, now we all talk about supply and demand, 10 years ago, and it sort of never became apparent, but I just feel the sensitivity is much greater now.
Enormous. I mean, if you look at uranium as a good example with the Sprott Uranium Trust, that soaked up all the available uranium. They bought over 55 million pounds. And so if you look at the end users, that used to be a go-to market to top up their supply. Well, that's no longer there. So they're now going upstream into exploration to shore up a bit of supply. So, uranium's one market that's, very tight. We haven't seen the big price movements yet, but they're coming. You look at the short squeeze on nickel about a year ago. A lot of the, warehouses have been cleaned out, the LME warehouses and the other warehouses that are out there. So there's a lot of, the whole metal market's becoming very tight.